Good evening and welcome to FTB Sport. It seems weird doing a review show on a Friday night, but we've had action Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I think the only thing I can say is it must be Christmas. It must be coming up for Christmas. Good evening, Tony, the Fox, the man responsible for some of the most outrageous banter in the history of FTB Sport. And I thought it was time that you and I had a one-to-one. And, I found out your opinions on life, football, and the universe, really, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's been a while since we've been on stream together. It was probably the Euros we were last together.
It is.
I mean, what a summer. It seems like a distant memory now. But yeah, let's get into this.
So let's kick off the evening, actually, with what happened right at the very beginning of the week. And that was the announcement of the Ballon d'Or. It is run by some kind of French magazine, so it's not exactly a fair poll. And look at the state of that. Since 2008, the only player to have not been Messi or Ronaldo is Luka Modric. Now Messi is 2 awards higher. Is that right? Surely there have been other players around than those two jokers. What's your thoughts?
There's two at the top of my head, Lewandowski and Salah.
Yeah.
They deserve it more than Messi. Now, I think the only reason why Messi's won it is obviously because Argentina won Copa America.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But even then, I mean, for Barcelona, not really done much. I mean, Barcelona didn't do much themselves. And then at PSG, he's not really racking up the numbers there, is he? So for me, it would have, Lewandowski, I would have been upset about, but I think Salah should have been, seventh. He was seventh, wasn't he, Salah?
Yeah, he was asked about it and just started laughing.
I don't blame him. I really don't. It just blows my mind. It really does. What about you?
Well, I thought the best comment of the week was by Sergio Ramos. Sergio Ramos was asked, how come you've never won the Ballon d'Or or been nominated hardly? And he said, if I wanted to win an individual awards, I'd have become a tennis player. He said, I chose to join a team sport. I don't know what you're talking about. And I thought that was fair enough. But yeah, and for God's sake, Lewandowski, the only reason he didn't get it the previous season because of a COVID. But surely,
it's crazy.
Crazy. When you look back, I remember that summer that Michael Owen won Ballon d'Or, whatever, and I just thought, bloody hell, everyone's got to have a chance there. So imagine, if Michael Owen can win Ballon d'Or, why wouldn't Lewandowski or Salah have won Ballon d'Or? It's crazy.
But there's always been some questionable ones. There was a year, and this is the Arsenal fan in me. I think Nedved won it, but Henry racked up a lot of numbers that year.
Yeah.
So I've always been a bit of a skeptic of the awards, so I'm not even surprised.
Yeah, it's a bit of a Eurovision Song Contest, but I like the idea. I just would like it to be a bit more democratic, and a bit more open,
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, the week started on Tuesday night, didn't it? And the first game out was Newcastle Norwich. Really, Kieran Clark gets sent off after 9 minutes. Yeah, and it still ends up at 1-1. And when you look at the stats, quite outrageous. You'd have thought Newcastle would have had all the possession at home. Nearly 70% of the possession was down to Norwich, and they had 6 shots with on target versus 1 for Newcastle. But when I was listening to the commentary and stuff, there were people saying, "Oh, Norwich were dreadful, they were awful." But you can't be awful with 70% possession and 7 times as many shots on target. And Newcastle at home against, I don't know.
Well, from what I heard, Dubravka had a really good game. It was his first game back, Dubravka.
Yeah.
We all know what good goalkeeper he is. The stats don't surprise me. The fact that Kieran Clark was sent off in the 9th minute. I was actually quite surprised to see Newcastle take the lead. But like you said, at home with the fans behind them, you still think they'd play a bit more. But what a goal from Pukki.
Oh yeah. And he does rack them up. He racks them up, and you look at him, and he doesn't even look like a footballer, really, does he?
No, he doesn't.
You know, he looks like a bloke who's coming off the street. Newcastle going to go down? Can they buy their way out this in January?
I'll be honest. I will find it hilarious if they did.
Yeah.
Just
Mike actually offers to buy it back for like 50 quid.
He'd be like, "No, you're all right, thanks. You can keep it."
Yeah.
I think I don't know how. I mean, people say, "Oh, they're going to go out and sign players in January," but who in their right mind will want to join Newcastle in the state they're in right now, even with the money?
There'll be a clause. Everyone will come along. Will be going, yeah, you can sign, but Newcastle will put an escape clause in there. Be mental not to. And I don't think a lot of Premier clubs will voluntarily sell to them. You know, they're talking about maybe buying who are they linked with? Trippier, Lingard, I think.
Yeah, that would be good.
Maybe Nathan Ake.
Yeah,
but I'm not certain they're going to get him out. I'm not certain. And Trippier is a bit of a, he's a warrior. He'll help them, but
he will.
I think they're going to need more than that.
Yeah, for me, Newcastle, they're what I wouldn't say they're a one-man team, but they keep Alderweireld at maximum and then get a couple more players to help him out. I think they might be right. And they might, what are they, 4 points behind safety? Might be more than that.
But I still think Norwich will go down with them. But all the teams above them are pretty spirited. You wouldn't bet on Burnley going down. God knows what Watford will do. It's like 1 week they're fantastic, and the next week they're awful. That's Claudio Ranieri, isn't it? I mean, I don't know. I mean, they look bloody good against Chelsea. When we come to the Chelsea game, the stats are amazing. And Tuchel said we robbed them. He said we stole it. So, So who the heck is going to go down? If Newcastle escape, who are the three teams going to go down apart from Norwich? I can't. They're not obvious to me.
No, you're right. It's definitely three that are above them that go down. Yeah, no, I know. I agree with you completely.
Even though Brighton seem to be, having tons of players injured, Potter's got too much now. So who's going to drop? Brentford, maybe?
I can't even see that, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, they're all pretty good. So, I mean, the next game, Leeds Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace are my adopted team. I go and watch them. I mean, that's a bitch, isn't it? 90.4 minutes, and it kind of was. Gueye kind of handled it, but 90.4. And I was thinking about that because I was tempted to go at Leeds, and I just couldn't get a ticket on that night. And those guys travelling back to South London, I think it was an 8:15 kickoff, wasn't it? How the hell, Palace fans, unless you're in a club coach, how do you get back from Leeds to South London on a Tuesday night? At that time, because some of the kickoffs were weird this week. You had some clubs kicking off at 7:30, others at 8:15, and
Amazon.
But I don't know how fans get back after an 8:15 kickoff.
These corporations, they don't think about the fans, do they? It's the same with Man United Arsenal. That was an 8:15 game, and that's further north. So true. Yeah, it's crazy, but it's always been there. It's always been the case.
Yeah, but it was interesting. I listened to some of the news today about obviously all the violence at Wembley and when we had the Euros final, etc. And people were just asking. They said, "Well, why wasn't it played earlier in the day, that match? Why at 8 o'clock in the evening when everyone's absolutely leathered by then? If you've got a final there at Wembley, why not play it at 3 p.m. or even middle of the day?" But again, it was money. It was money at 5 o'clock. It was the money. Beaming the game around the world. The only reason they had that, and yet it was a perfect storm. It was an accident waiting to happen. Get into a final, 8 o'clock in the evening, everyone trolleyed. It's a Sunday, people aren't working. I wanted to have a quick look at the stats against Palace because, to be fair, when the Palace lads were jumping up and down afterwards, etc., but Leeds were the dominant force. They were the dominant force on that game. And we were talking on the show last week with Ollie that when the squads that are shallow, like Palace, Brighton, and all those, you and Everton, when you pick up a couple of injuries, the wheels come off a bit. So Palace lost MacArthur and Anderson, and it grinds to a halt because Vieira's got them playing that way and doesn't have people to come in to continue that. Kiate and Luca are just too immobile.
Yeah,
and then I mean, Jesus, Tompkins, give us a break. Bringing him back. It's my criticism watching Palace over the last few years is that nothing happened from the goalkeeper and central defenders out. It was a long ball. It was just zero mobility until now.
So as you say, you're a follower of Crystal Palace. I've had to look at their results, and there's been an awful lot of draws. Does that concern you? I mean, the game seems to be really tightly contested. They're 5 away from whoever's 18th. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm in a banter group with the Palace guys, and I've got one mate of mine, Ed, who is always the pessimist again. Oh my God, we've got to pick up some points. We could be in the bottom 5 by January, or bottom 3. And then Ali, who's the positive one, says, yeah, but you turn a few of those games around and we could be in the bloody top 5. It's that tight in the middle band.
It is. Yeah.
Does it concern me? It totally depends on injuries. It totally and utterly depends. For a team like Palace, for once, they've got an abundance of forwards and wing players. You've got Zaha and Schlupp on the left. You've got Elise. You've got Essie coming back, and then you've got Eduardo or Benteke up front. I mean, that's a lot of options. But
it's very good.
But there's no options, and Ayew. But when it comes to midfield options, well, there isn't much. And central defence, Tompkins, for God's sake, is the backup. And the same, Klein is a bit knackered. He's not the player he used to be because of injuries. If Ward gets injured, you got Klein, and there's no one at left back, really. So that's the challenge at Palace. You lose a couple of players. So when you're saying to me, am I concerned? Depends on injuries.
Any whispers in January of addressing those areas?
Every week that goes by, they're linked with some player. Often when I haven't heard of, I have to refer them to Ali. Ali seems to know every division in Europe and different player. But yes, there seems to be a desire to spend a little bit of money. Yeah. Okay. I think Palace is good. Palace is a hell of a good club to go to for loanees. They've also always taken a lot of loans from London clubs. Like Ben Schwei was there, and
Gallagher.
Just lots of and Ruben Loftus-Cheek at Chelsea was there. So it's a good ground for that. So I think if you've got Chelsea or Arsenal, I
think Vieira is the kind of guy that would work well with some of these youngsters. If you were to go out and get some loanees, like you said, from Chelsea or Arsenal or whoever, I think Vieira could get the best out of them, get them playing. Because we saw you when Palace played Arsenal, and they played with a lot of intent and weren't afraid to come at us. And even against Man City, obviously they beat Man City, didn't they? So he's got them playing in a certain way. But I think you're right; it's the injuries that's really hurting them at the moment, especially in the defensive midfield areas.
Yeah, because they can't move it. A player I wanted them to sign. Do you remember when Maitland-Niles was not happy at Arsenal? He wanted to leave. I was going, shit, he could play for Palace for a decade if he'd gone to Palace at that moment. Now he seems to be loved at Arsenal and he's back in the throw. But he would be a perfect Palace player.
That definitely won't happen. That definitely won't happen now because obviously there are combinations coming up. So
not now, but as a few months ago, he would have been bloody great. He would have been bloody great.
I agree.
So let's march on through the rest of the games. I've got a question for you about Brendan Rodgers. Has it been all front? Is he being found out, or again? That's another club with an absolute shed full of injuries. Southampton 2, Leicester 2. I thought Hasenthauer, what the manager there, was quite interesting when he actually said at Liverpool, I tried a back 3, got it completely wrong, changed it at halftime, went back to the way we normally play. And he's quite a good manager, isn't he?
I think he is. There's people point out that he's had 2 9-0 losses. But I think he's the kind of manager that learns game by game. Like you said there, I actually thought Southampton were going to win against Leicester midweek. I had them down to win and score 2 goals. Obviously, it finished 2-2. They scored 2 goals, but it finished 2-2. But I think Southampton, they always seem safe, didn't they? You know, they're always they've got good players. They've got like really, really good players or really, really bad players. They've just got safe players. Not like before when they had like players like Mane and Lallana's and players like that. But these days,
and Van Dijk.
But exactly, and they just seem like a very safe team.
Højbjerg.
They're going to be in the Premier League for quite a while if they keep doing what they're doing right now. Then they're going to pick up results here and there, and they just seem very, very safe.
I was traveling with a Leicester fan. I was chatting a lot about Leicester, and I said, "What's it all about?" He said, "Well, firstly, it's been really unsettled at the back." He said. James Justin, the fullback that they've lost all season, who was going to play for England, he said that's a massive loss. And then the other guy, who's the central defender there?
Fofana.
Marty?
Fofana,
that's him, who's really good. So they lost those 2. And he's really critical of Vestergaard that they bought from Southampton. He thinks he's a complete donkey. And Soyuncu, who I wanted City to buy a couple of years ago, I thought he was going to be the real deal. But then he seems to have gone backwards, doesn't he? And then Johnny Evans, to be fair, he's a class act, but he's in and out of injury all the time because he's getting to be old. So Leicester, they've had massive. He said the problem is they've had massive instability. He's an ardent Leicester fan, a Rodgers fan. He just said they've had huge instability. But
you can see with Leicester's games previously that all they're trying to do is score more than the other team. That's all they can do at the moment to get results. They're very leaky at the back, and like you said, those players that you mentioned, they're missing them big time. But when you've got
he did say that he felt that Iheanacho had bailed Rodgers out last season quite a lot, and yet the favour hasn't been returned because Rodgers played a different system this season, and Iheanacho can't get a game.
It's true, but Vardy's still clinical, though, isn't he? That's the problem he has. You know, Vardy, for me, Vardy's their main striker, and he should be playing every game. Maybe play both of them. Maybe work away because Iheanacho, he does score goals, and he scores important ones as well.
They played both last season, and it was really effective. And you know, in this day and age, you know, if you and I were sat here 5-8 years ago, we'd have said, "Oh, Vardy coming on 34, you know, he's nearly finished." But hang on, he's younger than Lewandowski, he's younger than Benzema, he's a lot younger than Ronaldo, who are all still at the top of the game, and he's almost, 6 or 7 years younger than Ibrahimovic. So, you know, you think about all those strikers who are banging them in all around Europe, and actually they're mid-30s, and the Suarez as well.
It's true. I mean, the fitness these days is ridiculous, isn't it? But I think going back to why they don't play the 2 up front is probably down to the fact that he wants to put an extra man to protect the back 4, maybe.
I think you're probably
of understand it. Yeah,
I think you're probably right. Now, I thought probably the most interesting game was this one coming up here. Watford 1, Chelsea 2. You look at the stats, bloody hell, 50-50. So Watford matched them all the way, nearly shots on target, the whole works. And, Watford were in that game all the way through. And Tuchel said, we stole it from them. We didn't win it. We didn't play well. Does it surprise you? You'd have thought Chelsea would have hammered Watford.
You would. But, Ranieri's got them playing in a certain way. And I'm a massive fan of this Emmanuel Dennis.
Yeah.
He's collected some very good numbers for a team like Watford, where they are in the league table as well.
Yeah.
I think he's got 11 goal involvements. And for Watford, 14 games in, that's massive. It just shows how good that this player really, really is. And they've got 1 or 2 good players around. You've got Ismaili Sarr. You've got the experience of it. Is Cleverley still there?
Yeah, he is. He's playing really well. And also,
Dawson,
Sissoko is playing well. I mean, bloody hell.
He is.
And Newcastle, he only turned up like 6 months before his contract was due at Newcastle, and he did the same at Spurs. I've always thought he was a nothing player.
Well, I suppose if you need to find a team that suits you, and I think maybe not necessarily Newcastle, but Spurs, as much as I hate to say it, probably wasn't his level. Whereas at Watford, and with the young players around him and the experience of players around him and the coaching, it's just worked nicely for him. Watford, they've scored quite a few goals this season. They've got some great results as well. Of course, the Man United one, they got Ollie sacked. Their tails are up, and they're going to be fancying, staying in the league.
I was thinking, what the hell does Spurs do to midfielders? You look at Sissoko, and he went to crap. Ndebele, I mean, I thought he was going to be the finest midfielder in Europe, and he's probably going to be on his way out. And then you look at Winks, who's just completely gone. You look at Dele Alli, who's never progressed. You look at who's that lad who's what's his name, who's gone into the back four now, who used to play midfield? Dyer. It's like a midfielder's graveyard at Spurs, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll go on to them. But I'm talking about Spurs players going to Watford. Capoue was another one, wasn't he? He went to Watford. He had a great time at Watford.
Yeah, he did.
So, maybe they should just do their shopping at Spurs.
Right, we've got to go on to the next game.
Yes.
We'll come to this. When the team came out, I thought, well, missing Grealish, missing Foden, missing De Bruyne, and I was scared the game before at home to West Ham, and City played beautifully, and against PSG. So 2 beautiful games in a week they played well without those 3 really gifted players. So then you go, oh yeah, Walker's injured, and Laporte's suspended. Oh shit, that's 5. Stones is injured. And Gundogan, so that's 7 players out, and City still played a fantastic game. I mean, look at the stats. I mean, look at the state of that. 64% possession at Villa, who'd won their previous 2 games with 7.
They got that new manager bounce as well.
7, yeah, they got the new manager bounce, but 7 City players out for various reasons. And that Bernardo goal was just bloody great. I mean, it was...
I'm gonna stick my neck out here. Bernardo Silva is the best Portuguese player in the Premier League right now.
Yep.
Over Ronaldo, over Jota. Now,
just about.
Ronaldo, Jota, they score the goals, yeah. But the player, the footballer, I mean, I enjoy watching him. He is. I mean, we were linked with him at some point, and I was like, "Bring him in." But and that goal.
It's an interesting merry-go-round of form, isn't it? Bernardo Silva wasn't in the team, grumbling, and now he's a world beater. Sterling, he's playing the last few games, is playing really well, and yet. A few months ago was, talked about leaving for God knows all sorts of clubs, Spurs, Arsenal, Barcelona. It is strange. I don't know whether Pep messes with their brains and gets them remotivated, rejigged. I think he plays with a psyche, something like that.
I'll tell you who impresses me at the moment is Gabriel Jesus.
Yeah,
he's changed his game. We all know he's a goal scorer, but it's the hold-up play that I've been impressed with at the moment, because I've never really noticed it with him. And he's then allowing the players around him to get into goal-scoring positions. So he needs to take a lot of credit. People would look at Gabriel Jesus and he doesn't score a lot of goals because he's a striker. But actually, if you watch him and see what he does, he's actually quite important.
It was when I watched Palace and I watched Jordan Ayew, who I really like. It's like Jordan Ayew is a much less talented Jesus. In the same, is it kind of a number 10, but does an incredible workhorse operation right across that front line, supporting the striker, supporting he's always there for the passes. But Jordan Ayew's like that at Palace, and sure, he doesn't get an absolute sack full of goals, but he's there and everywhere. Like Jesus is. His tracking back is amazing as well. it's interesting watching this week. Ferran Torres has been linked to go back to Barcelona. I think something's even been agreed. And he seems to score for fun for Spain, but and it was early days. He's quite young. I didn't know whether he was going to cut it at City yet. Maybe there's something psychological going on there.
I think they're still there. I think you can get the best out of Ferran Torres still. When it comes to Spanish football, Valencia is my team, and I've always watched him. And when I heard that City was signing him, I was like, they got a player there. Like, he's not going to hit the ground running straight away, but with Pep being there, it would work well with him. Get him to be a top player. I mean, look, Mahrez is there at the moment, so he can learn off Mahrez as well, because he's more of a right-sided attacker.
Yeah.
He can play up front. And I think with a little bit of time, and he sticks with these players and sticks with Pep, he'll have a breakout season probably next season or the season after. Mark my words, if he stays.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that. I mean, it would seem really strange for City and Pep to let him go after they've found him. It would seem strange when Barcelona say they want, well, what are you going to pay us in with, buttons? Because you haven't got any money. They've offered a choice of 7 players. Well, look at the 7 players, and they're all crap.
No, you don't want any of them.
No, none of them. I'd take Frankie de Jong possibly in exchange, but there's no one else I really fancy. And Pedri, but apart from that, I don't fancy anyone at Barcelona.
No, I don't think anybody does. I'm going to have a word on Villa, because although they didn't have much of the ball, they had some good chances, and Watkins took his goal really well, and he needed that for me. Because I don't know if he scored in the last game. I can't quite remember, but Gerrard's got them. Gerrard's going to be good for them, and they'll definitely stay up. And with the players
Danny
they got,
scored the previous game, didn't he? Yeah,
he did. Yeah, he did. And I think, with Gerrard there, and with the players they got and the football they're capable of playing, I think they'll be just fine this season. So I don't think they've got nothing to worry about. He's
a tough guy manager, isn't he, Gerrard? When you look at managers who make it, they're all quite steely and tough. Lampard was probably the nicest of the bunch, and probably no surprise that he hasn't got it. The guy I fear who will turn into a good manager is bloody Wayne Rooney. I really respect what he's done at Derby. He's produced results out of nothing there at Derby. He had only 7 players on the books when he started. And the other one is Gerrard. He never smiles or laughs. He's a hard case. And I think he'll do really well at Villa, unfortunately.
That comes as no surprise, though, really. You saw him as a captain. So,
yeah. Right. Come on, then. Come on. Here's your game. United 3, Arsenal 2. I saw the stick going out, but look at the stats. Arsenal had, and this is at Old Trafford, 56% possession, 17 shots, 8 on target, 8 corners. Come on, I'll just shut up for 5-10 minutes now. Tell us what you thought of the game.
This was won simply. It was their striker who was more clinical, world class, compared to our striker who's non-existent, and has been for the last few games now. He does not look with it at all. I don't know what's happened. I don't know what's going on, because we all know he was a good. He's been good for us, but ever since he signed that contract, something's happened, and I don't know what it is. There was a moment where someone's passed the ball to him on the left-hand side. He's just stood there and watched the ball go out of play right in front of him. He just doesn't seem interested. For me, I'll say it's a fair result just because they were clinical. I know there's the stats say this and that, but the first goal we were quite lucky with, because
I was going to say, what do you think about the first goal? I've heard lots of opinions.
It's a goal.
De Gea would get, down there like a big girl on the deck.
Yeah, I mean, it's a goal. It's the rules of the game, and it's like, who was it? Alan Shearer said something, didn't he? Saying he could have just got back up because there was nothing wrong with him.
Yeah.
And if he got back up, I mean, he would have saved it anyway.
And
he
was fouled by Fred, not an Arsenal player.
Huh?
He was injured by Fred. It wasn't an Arsenal player that injured him.
Exactly. And the thing that annoys me the most is that when that happened, Old Trafford, you couldn't hear a thing. That's when we should have really come out at them. And we've got this thing where we go a goal up and we just say, well, okay, you can have the ball now.
Yeah. No, I can imagine also some of the younger players, and I have to say, I'm a massive fan of the youngsters at Arsenal. I mean, Saka is just awesome anyway. My mum's favourite player, and Smith Rowe is fantastic. Martinelli's fantastic. Who's Tavares? I mean, God, to keep Tierney out is incredible. Each one of those players he bought in a closed season seems to be performing really well. I'm a fan of all that. I just wonder, first trip to Old Trafford, the Old Trafford crowd, the stadium, the likes of Martinelli, Smith Rowe, overawed a touch, maybe? Do you think that they, when they scored, they held back? Do you think they're still getting used to the idea that they could win at Old Trafford or Liverpool or City?
Yeah, I think they're young. I think on average, I think it's the youngest team in the Premier League, if not one of the youngest. So they're still learning. There was, I think Tavares was quite naive defensively, to be honest.
Yes,
he's great going forward. But a lot of their better chances, came from his side. Because they weren't getting past Tomiyasu. Tomiyasu was like a brick wall.
Yeah. He's like a centre back would pay. He's like a centre back size, playing right back.
Well, funny enough, he plays centre back for Japan.
Yeah.
So
goodbye. He was a good buy.
Yeah.
No, and Ramsdale was an awesome buy, and he's England #1. And
he is.
White. I'm not going to say he's a good buy because £50 million. You're looking for a real, but he was a better buy than Nathan Ake. Let's give him that. And City paid 40 million for him.
He was. I think Ben White, he started the game well. He was dealing with the crosses to Ronaldo. He was actually beating Ronaldo to some of the headers. And then as the game went on, I don't know. He got spun at one point, didn't he? And I think that just got to him. But listen, like I said, and what ultimately won the game for Man United was Odegaard. He scored a great goal to equalise soon after they scored. And then he goes and does that. I mean, the moment, because obviously he went to VAR, but the moment he did that, I just thought, why is he? It's a penalty. It's a stonewall penalty. Why has he done that? So I think Odegaard really cost us the game. Now, I would have been happy to take a point. I must admit, I was confident. I was very confident going into the game, and I think I had every right to be confident, to be honest. But as the game went on, I would have taken that draw all day long because.
United fans get right back out of their box, don't they? Straight away, they get a couple of wins, and they're insufferable again.
They try to say that we're unbearable, the cheek of it. But listen, they beat us, and they're still below us anyway. So,
yeah. Well, I was when Arsenal were winning, and I looked at the table. That would have put United like almost just edging in the bottom half. There's that. We talked about Palace and. You said, what do I think? But there's nothing between, fourth from bottom and fourth from top, really. There's no points between them. We'll come on to Spurs or whatever in a bit, but they're back up the table after all the wheels came off. So you got Spurs and Man United there. They were so bad they had to get rid of the managers, and now they're back in business.
Well, Man United just got rid of their best manager since Alex Ferguson. And that was Michael Carrick.
Well, yeah, stats-wise. Interesting that he marched right out of the club there, wasn't it?
Yeah. No,
chose to leave the whole club.
He was part of the team that Ollie had.
Yeah,
so
he must have had a good severance package, probably.
Yeah. But, listen... I ain't too upset about it. Let's move on. Yeah, let's move on.
Let's have a look at this one. Now, this was interesting because West Ham were going great guns. So you've got West Ham there at home, scoring early, everything going against Brighton. Brighton then go down to 10 men because they've had 4 players injured and finished. And then Maupay scores that incredible overhead kick. It was like, remember Brighton scored late against Palace to equalise as well. And I'm a massive Graham Potter fan. I really do believe he's a future England manager after Southgate. He's got it. He's tactically great and even politically astute. When their fans booed Brighton the other day, and I watched the interview, and he just said, "Perhaps I've missed something from the club's history. We're eighth in the Premier League. Perhaps I misread something about the club's history." And I just thought and he's, he was critical of the fans, saying, we had a couple of young players, had some injuries, maybe they were cold, but I mean, I thought that was almost the result of the day to get a draw at West Ham there.
It was, and it was goal of the week as well from Malpe. It's their never die attitude, Brighton. They play every minute of the game. And that's what Potter's done. Actually, to be honest with you, when Spurs were looking for a manager, they should have got him. They didn't. But
I'm wondering whether he'll end up at Everton, because I'm not sure that they're going to stick with Benitez for much longer. But we'll see.
I can't see it. Well, maybe we're going to talk about Everton, but I can't see it myself. I think he should just finish the season with Brighton, see what he can do. I mean, look at that last minute, and I'm replaying the goal in my head right now, and it's so clean. And away from home as well at West Ham. I mean, I know it's not like the old West Ham, the bowling ground where everyone's in your face,
but they're a tough team to beat, and they're pretty much full strength. They don't have injuries. You got Damien. Let's have a look. Quickly move on. Just a touch. We've got to mention Wolves Burnley, because firstly, Burnley will find their way out of this trouble, and I just think
they always do.
Wolves have done well. Jimenez is back. It's the Japanese striker they've got on loan who's good as well, who's muted to go to lots of other places.
We get his name.
Yeah, but
Huang.
Yeah,
He-Chan Huang.
Yeah, that's impressive.
I'm impressed myself there.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That it's only because you've been practicing with Tomiyasu. You've been studying the rest of the Japanese team.
All the Asian footballers, yeah.
Any thoughts on Wolves and Burnley? Yeah. They're staying up, aren't they?
I think this was the 0-0 banker, wasn't it? Of the week. Well, you mentioned Wolves, and they're doing well. They're off the radar. They're unnoticeably doing quite well.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Changing manager, and everyone forgets. I mean, obviously they lost Jota. Jimenez has taken ages to come back in, but the other player they've lost, it was Neto. Neto was that young Portuguese lad who was doing fantastic, but he's got a really bad injury, so he's unlikely to appear even the whole season. So
it's a shame.
Yeah, again, I would describe him as almost a star player. Anyway, talking about stars, let's talk about Everton, Liverpool. I mean, I must admit at one stage I thought Everton were going to get an absolute smashing. I think England women's had won 20-0 against Latvia the day before, and I thought, I really felt for them. What sort of match is that? But 2-0, and there were Everton fans pouring out into the bar. I don't think they left the ground, but they certainly headed for the bar.
No, I actually seen some clips of Everton fans actually outside the ground, and it was like 26th minute or something.
Yeah.
They're fed up, and I can understand why they are. They were playing Liverpool. They were 2-0 down against Liverpool. They knew they weren't going to come back from it, especially the way they've been playing. And they are dangerously close to the relegation zone. They got us next, by the way. So we're breaking records for teams sometimes. So they might come back against us. But Liverpool are just on another level. Ever since the international break, obviously they've scored 4 goals in each of the last 3. Yeah, I want to say.
Yeah, the only performance when I thought they were poor was against Man City. I thought that was what City's probably best game, and for the sake of the fact that the referee was biased and should have sent Milner off, City should have had that at Anfield. I mean, they look phenomenal, and their options in midfield is incredible. Henderson's playing really well, and Thiago.
back-to-back goals, back-to-back games, something like that.
Yeah, Thiago's playing really well though as well.
Yeah, I mean, we all knew what we were getting with Thiago. Yeah, we all knew what we were getting with Thiago. And I saw a frightening stat earlier. We talk about how your Trents and your Van Dijks and Henderson's all scoring goals. Their front three of Jota, Mane, and Salah have had 38 goal involvements or something like that. Goals between them or something stupid like that. Anyway, it is crazy.
And those three and Firmino. I mean, you've got four of the best strikers in the Premier League.
But it will be interesting to see how they do in January because obviously they're going to lose Salah and Mane. But at the moment, Liverpool fans have got every right to feel the way they do at the moment. Because Salah, he's had 21 goal involvements. That's more than anybody in the top 5-6 leagues.
Nice. It's fantastic.
And anyone that's close to him is probably Benzema with 19, but he's played 2 more games, I think. It is crazy.
No, and you can see a player like Salah playing a lot of years as well. He's great. When you look at, this makes it even worse. Mind you, we said, who was it earlier who also had 70% of the possession? I mean, Liverpool had 70% of the possession. They had the whole game, really. And I thought this was funny. I picked this out. This was the chant they were giving. Salah scoring all around. Copite singing, having fun. It's the season. Love and understanding. Merry Christmas, Everton. I think it's quite a good chant.
I like that.
I thought that was a good little chant, that. But I think Everton are in trouble. When the Palace guys were having banter about who was going down, everyone agreed on Norwich, and I think they will. They thought Newcastle would get out of it. I didn't. And I thought the third team would be Everton because there's nothing propping them up. They're in free fall. I don't see how they're going to turn it around. And they're not. I know you always doubt about Arsenal, or whatever, but they're not going to get a point at Arsenal. They're just not.
No,
not the way it is. And be interesting. England number 1, England number 2 goalkeepers. Is that the day it all changes? Maybe.
I tell you what, we haven't got a great record at Everton, really. They do have a habit of beating us. But this Everton team right now, we shouldn't feel any fear.
No.
And we should beat them. But it's football. And tell you what, just going back to that, obviously we're playing on Monday. It's Friday right now, so it's actually giving us a. We don't have to worry about the May night game now. That's over and done with. The Everton game's coming fast enough, so it's great.
Well, these games are absolutely piling through. When I watch for City and Palace, and back to Saturday, and City are back down there in London. They've been away there at Villa. They're back to London to play Watford in the late kickoff there. I don't know. Firstly, are Liverpool going to drop any points at Wolves, do you think?
No, I can't see it myself.
Yeah, I was afraid you'd say that. Chelsea drop points at West Ham, though. Is there a possible Chelsea dropping points at West Ham?
That has every chance. Lunchtime game as well, in front of the cameras.
Yeah.
I fancy drawing that game.
There's a lot of football to watch tomorrow, isn't there? You could start off with that West Ham Chelsea game, end up at the City game.
Game to start with. It really is.
Yeah.
Do you want some score predictions?
Yeah, go on then. West Ham Chelsea.
I'm going to go 2-2 there.
2-2.
Go for a Desmond.
No, I'm going to go West Ham win. I think West Ham will win that. Maybe 2-0, 2-1. Newcastle Burnley.
This could be a game Newcastle win.
I'm still not sure. Sean Dyche's draw. It's got draw written on it. 1 each.
I'm giving
Brighton. Another draw, do you think?
I'm giving Newcastle the edge 1-0, by the way.
Okay. Southampton Brighton.
South Coast Derby. See, this is one of those games. We were talking about Brighton and how they play and what they do, but this could also be a game where you just kind of like, oh, Southampton beat Brighton. I think this could be a draw as well,
If Brighton's 4 injured players, though, don't return, they're going to have such a thin team. Now,
they are. The game's coming as quick as they are. Yeah.
I'm going to put my money on Southampton's going to win that, I think.
Yeah.
Wolves, Liverpool. Can anyone stop Liverpool at the moment?
No one can stop Liverpool until January if the players stay fit.
What do you reckon? What's the score? Wolves, Liverpool.
They won't score 4 again. I think this would be like a 2-0 Liverpool.
2-0. Watford, City.
It's actually quite an interesting game because we speak about Watford and what they've done this season, and they are scoring goals. And actually, this is what I wanted to ask you about Man City, really. Obviously, they're not scoring as much as what Liverpool are. And I don't know about Chelsea. I don't know what the comparison is there. But, yeah, I think City really need to buy a striker in January.
My brother, who is more vociferous as a City fan even than me, I mean, he's been jumping up and down for ages about it. We have to have a number 9. Could you, when you pick out a striker like Jota or a Salah could have 50 goals playing for City. Yeah, no, I mean, I bustingly wanted Ollie Watkins. I just thought he would have been brilliant. But yeah, you've got to hope Haaland, but that's such a lot of money on weekly wages.
There's a lot,
and usually when it goes to an auction on wages, whether City back down. It was like when Jorginho went to Chelsea and City were interested in Fred and he went to United, and when what's his name? The Chilean guy, Sanchez, went to United because they paid more wages. Ronaldo paid more wages. I just think Haaland will go to United or Real Madrid because they'll pay him more than City will pay him, because they don't. I don't know. But
you'd like to think Daddy would go on, son. Go City.
Yeah, you'd have thought so. For God's sake, bloody Keane maimed his dad. I never forgive him for that. He's an animal anyway. But yeah, you'd have thought, don't go to United. That finished your dad's career. But got a couple of comments coming in here. Actually, I have Mr. B. Oh, can't wait. Watford, Man City, rubbing hands with anticipation. Yeah, it's one of those weird ones. That game could go any way. That Watford, Man City, there could be a lot of goals in that. Munsey Talk saying Tony. Yeah, and another aficionado for that one. So let's have a look at Sunday. So
by the way, Man City will win that one 2-1.
I hope so. I bloody hope so. Leeds Brentford.
This could be a good game. Very entertaining game. I can see another draw.
Yeah,
there's going to be quite a few draws, I think, this week. I'm going to go.
Right.
I'm going to go one each here. I think there'll be a goal each team.
Yeah, I think you could be right. Can Palace take points at both Manchester clubs? United against Palace.
Of course they can. Vieira's going to get these boys up for it.
But they were much fresher against City, and they still haven't got Anderson back, I don't think. Oh God.
No, I think Old Trafford.
I've got a feeling United will win that.
Yeah, me too.
But anyway, go Palace. Spurs
2-0.
Norwich.
Spurs Norwich. You know what I'd love to say, but it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. Spurs are going to win that, and that'll be, what is that? 4 games. That will about be 4 games unbeaten for Conte. 2 draws and 2 wins if he gets that.
Something like that. There's no way they're losing.
It'll be the Messiah by the end of that.
If they lose to Norwich, if they don't get a result against Norwich at home, I would want to be a Tottenham fan when I'm around. That's for sure.
That would be bloody funny.
But
Villa
4-0 Spurs.
Villa Leicester. I reckon Villa are going to see Leicester off in that, don't you?
I honestly do as well. I agree with you completely, and I think we spoke about Leicester's frailties at the back.
Ollie Watkins and Danny Ings, they could set
Exactly. They got players on the wings that can hurt them, players in the middle of the park that can hurt them. So,
who's the lad they got from Leverkusen? Bailey?
Bailey, yeah. He got subbed off. I don't know if he got injured or not. Did he get injured?
He went off injured. I don't know how serious it is, though, because he's really good.
But I still fancy Villa. in this game. We spoke about Leicester's weaknesses. We spoke about Villa's strengths.
Mm-hmm.
So, based on that, I'm going to go for a 2-1 Villa. I think Leicester will still score.
And we're nearly home and dry. Everton, Arsenal.
Got coin.
Get out of town.
No,
come on.
I'm not going to be pessimistic. I'm going to be optimistic because, listen, I know Everton are in terrible form right now, but this is the kind of game that they would end up getting a result because they need one, and they need a result now. They really, really do. But
if Arsenal score early,
do
you not think they'll be demoralised?
We should. I don't know. I don't know if we should score early because we'll just sit back and invite them in.
Well, but the fans will get right back on them, won't they?
This is very true. So if we started brightly like we did against Man United, and I think we'll. If we start like we did against Man United, against Everton, we should score 2 goals, and that should be enough. I'm going to go 3-1 Arsenal. I still think they'll score. No, actually, no, 3-0. What am I talking about? 3-1. I'm going 3-0.
Yeah, 3-0. And goalkeeper wise, yeah.
Yeah. Ramsdale's already won that bell. This is Phil taking the mickey here because he's gone Tommy and he's gone the Yeah, I see what you've done there.
I'd like him to name the striker who plays for Wolves. Then, yeah, maybe we can ask him on that one. Yeah. But,
hey, listen.
Man
United won the battle, but they haven't won the war.
No, we'll see. It'll be very interesting with this new guy, and very, very, very interesting.
I'm intrigued. Yeah,
I think he's got work to do. I think there's problems underlying there, and boy, I'd love it if Palace beat Man United. I'd love it, but we'll see. Cool.
I actually think going back to that game, I think Fred was their man of the match in the end.
Yeah, I heard good reviews. I mean,
I honestly do. Ronaldo only got it because he scored 2 goals.
Yeah, but we'll see. Anyway, have a good weekend, sir, and let's watch all the banter. And yeah, you should be safe and sound on Monday night. Yeah, I'll be watching that. It'll be lovely. Thank you. Let's catch up soon. Yeah,
pleasure, Ian. Thank you very much, mate.
Take care. So if you like the show, please share it, tell your mates, pass it on, and watch it again tomorrow. Cheers, Tony. Have a lovely evening. Bye.